question is related with because Aishwarya always is there in Madhurya Lila, but for example when Krishna left the Rasalila, or in Ramalila when they go to the forest, or Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, this attribute is related with the opulence of renunciation in Aishwarya field, or we should understand in other way this beauty, fame, strength, the beauty of Krishna is apart, or these attributes come also from Aishwarya, who is supporting Madhurya for increase the rasa.
You give the example of Mahaprabhu leaving Madhurya. Or Krishna leaving Vrindavan. Or Krishna disappearing from the Rasalila. So these are all quite different. They have some similarity but also different. When Sri Krishna left the Rasalila, he left with Srimati Radhika. But then later also he left Radhika. But he had a purpose to actually relish more rasa, to increase the rasa through the mellows of separation. And also to show to all the other gopis that Radhika's love is supreme. He left the Rasalila with Srimati Radhika. It shows that at the time of meeting, her prem is supreme. And then he left Radhika and everyone saw her separation. And then they realized at the time of separation, her love is supreme. So both in meeting and separation, Radharani is supreme. So once the Braja Gopis, they all had a great honor for Radhika. When you honor someone who has more bhakti than yourself, then their mercy comes to you and your bhakti increases. And so the prem of all the Braja Gopis went up by this, and then they all danced with Krishna together. So Krishna is very rasik. He had his intentions behind leaving Braja Gopis and leaving Radhika in the Rasalila. So sometimes Vaishnavas have said that, oh, just see, Krishna left all the gopis, or he left Radhika, and this shows his vairagya, that he is detached. So this is just from the point of view of tattva, to give an instruction to general persons. But actually, Krishna cannot at any moment give up his devotee. Krishna cannot have vairagya towards his devotee because Krishna is prem adhin. He is controlled by prem. So that is a superficial interpretation of the lila. That is the manifestation. This is why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that of the 6 opulences of the Lord, Sri, beauty, is the angi, that is the body. And then Aishwarya samagra. Here the word Aishwarya in this context of the 6 opulences of the Lord, it means the capability to be the biggest and the smallest simultaneously. And the controller of everything, and the biggest and the smallest. So this is Aishwarya. That is one of the characteristics of the Lord. Virya, to have all Shaktis, especially Achintya, inconceivable potency. Aishwarya Smar Virasya Yash, fame. Fame here means that the glory of Krishna is Mangalmaya. Because there are many persons who are famous, but if you hear and chant about them, you'll go to hell. But if anyone will hear or chant about Krishna in any way, his whole life becomes auspicious. So yash means not just really well known. Yash doesn't mean he's a celebrity. Of course he is well known, he is a celebrity. But the yash means mangal, that his glories bring auspiciousness to everyone. And so Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yasasriya, then beauty. So beauty is the main one. This is Angi, just like your body is the body and your arms and legs are the limbs that come from the body. So all the opulences actually they depend on Sri beauty. Beauty is the main one, Angi, and the others are parts of that. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, of these 6 opulences, Jnana and Vairagya are not directly Krishna's qualities. But they're the attributes of his qualities. In other words, if someone will be touched by his yash or by his Sri, then they will develop Jnana and Vairagya. So, we cannot say that Krishna is so renounced he can renounce his pure devotees. This would be contrary to rasa. He is controlled by love. Everything he does is for his devotees. So even if superficially, you know what he said? Madbhakthanam vinodartam karomi vividakriya karma parana. I do everything, all the activities I do, many different types of activities, but everything I do it for my devotees. So Krishna cannot give him up. Because vairagya means the absence of rag, the mode of passion, attachment. So Krishna's swarup is necessarily vairagya, if you like. It is devoid of the mode of passion because it's a Shuddha Sattva, Vishuddha Sattva swarup. But to be devoid of something is not a quality because it's a negative abstraction. If you say, oh, I have the quality of deathlessness, amrita, immortality. So immortality, you can say it's a quality, but if you search the person, you will not find that quality there because it's a negative abstraction. It means not having death. Understand? So not having something is not a thing, but it's the way that we speak. It's the way. So that is called vikalpa. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, in the commentary on the word vikalpa, it's described that one type of vikalpa. There are many types of vikalpa, but one type is a negative abstraction that you think in your mind that a negative abstraction is actually a positive quality. So we should think about it in this way. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that 4 of the opulences, they are directly Krishna's qualities of his swarup. And Sri is the main one, and the others are, it's angas. But Jnana and Vairagya are in a separate category. Because they're, in one sense, they are negative abstractions, but they have an effect on us. When we remember the Supreme Lord, then naturally Jnana and Vairagya will come to us. That means the removal of bodily identification. Vairagya one of the characteristics is detachment from sense gratification. So if Sri Krishna will be enjoying with the gopis, but then he'll be detached and give them up, then did he give up sense gratification? Or not? His meeting with the gopis was never sense gratification in the first place. So if Krishna will leave the gopis, then what kind of vairagya is this? So someone can say in a general sense that to give a teaching to a neophyte person, oh, you are very attached to sense gratification, you are attached to beautiful women and this and that. But look, Krishna is not like you, he doesn't have faults like you, because Krishna leaves all the gopis. He's detached. So it may be said to give it some lesson to a general person, how Krishna is great and you should, how can you be a devotee of Krishna if you don't have the qualities like Krishna? Krishna is not a sense enjoyer, he can give up all beautiful women. So you should also give up. Someone may say like this, but it's a very superficial analysis, because Krishna's loving pastimes with the gopis, there were never sense gratification in the first place. Krishna is not kami, lusty. Krishna is premi. The love of gopis is become famous by the name of Kam. It is Kama Rupa Bhakti. But only Kama Rupa, it has the form, it has the shape as if it were Kama. But Premaiva Goparamanam Kama Ityagamat Pratam. The love of gopis is actually prem. So Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhari Premanam, the desire to please Krishna's senses, that is called prem. So there's no calm in gopis' love. Sahaja Gopira Prem Nahi Prakrit Kam. The natural love of gopis is not in any way a material type of lust, but it became famous by that name Kam. But actually it's completely just pure love without any tinge, with not the slightest smell of the desire for sense gratification. So Sri Krishna loves the gopis in that way. Gopis love Krishna in that way, and Krishna loves the gopis in that way. They are relishing the rasa of pure love. They are not trying to enjoy sense gratification. So if Krishna will leave the gopis, with this we cannot say this, he has given up sense gratification. That's our projection, and also one type of vikalpa. A thought construct which is not correlated to the actual reality. Yes, another question? Yes, ask the second. You should study the description of the 6 opulences in the Jaiva Dharma explanation. What I have said is based on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's comments in Jaiva Dharma.
I didn't understand another matter when Krishna wants to marry Rukmini and he asks his permission from and the Bhishma is like setting him this rule that he cannot marry other. Why is he hesitating? Because at that time, since I understood that he thinks that Radhika has passed away, so how can this thought arise that he will in the future be able to maybe marry Radhika?
First of all, there was no condition that he could not marry anyone. The condition was that he could not marry anyone without the permission of Rukmini. So the door was not closed. On marriage, it was only closed on he cannot marry someone that Rukmini does not get along with. Because if they are co-wives and they hate each other, then the life is spoiled. So the co-wives, they should get along with each other. And so if and when, and so then Garuda, he asked for this to Bhishma Maharaj. Buddha asked Bhishma Maharaj, but you should agree to this condition for Krishna, that once Rukmini, she asks Krishna to accept a Saki, some dear friend whom she loves, then this condition will be lifted. That means that once Rukmini has asked for Krishna to meet with one of her Sakis and accept as his beloved, then after that Krishna will not require her permission again for any other persons. So this is how there was some condition from both sides. One, that there's a condition, and the second condition that there's under this condition, that condition will be cancelled. Now, Krishna heard the news that the demigods had said Radhika has entered the sun planet. So first of all, Krishna had a hope that he would meet Radhika somehow or other again one day. And secondly, he is not Lord Ramachandra, who has made the Ekapatni Vrat. You cannot force Krishna to become like Lord Ramachandra and make Ekapatni Vrat, the vow to only have one wife. How is it possible? Because Krishna has made the promise, Yeya tamam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyam, that I reciprocate with everyone. So if any person loves Krishna in Madhurya Rasa, then he must accept them as his beloved. This is his vow. Ramachandra has made the Ekapatni Vrat because he is Maryada Purushottam. So Lord Rama, his pastimes, don't think his pastimes are about Maryada. The pastimes of Lord Rama are also only about praying, love. However, that praying never oversteps the boundaries of social Maryada, and therefore he is called Prema Purushottama. So all his pastimes are pastimes of love. His love for Sita, his love for Hanuman, his love for Lakshman, his love for Kaushalya, his love for Kaikeyi even. He has love for his associates, so much. But he has the pastime of setting a good example in all respects in regard to the Vedic Dharma. But Krishna is not like that. For him, he is ready to transgress all boundaries of the religious and social etiquette for the sake of praying. So Krishna is the Lila Purushottam. In his Lila, he will do anything to relish rasa because he's Rasik Shekhar. So primarily Krishna looked towards Purnamasi for help because of his deep attachment to Srimati Radhika, and also because he will not have the Ekapatni Vrat. Ekalila Kari Prabhu Karya Panchasat. When the Supreme Lord does something, it can have 5 or 6 different purposes. But you should know the first and primary purpose is always Prema Rasa Nirajas Karite Aishwarya, to relish the essence of Radhika's love. That's the primary, and all the others will be secondary and included in that. Is it clear? Yeah. One more question. Sikhiman.
She Gurudev, when she Parang Gurudev used to you in 1996 to translate the Jevadharma. In the chapter 13, you speak about that to the knowledge of the Vedas is inconcebible. Because no es en material like ancient, because no es material knowledge.
Achintya.
Why when people give reference to the Vedas, or it's like an ancient 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Why not? Because it's eternal. When you open one book, it's like it happened 2 days ago. It's so near to the soul. It's eternal. Why? Always concept that the Vedas is like a time,
Yes.
material time.
Yes, that the Vedas are old is not their selling point. You know? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would call the persons who have a fetish for old things antiquarians. You know? Oh, this knowledge is so authentic because it's so old. There's so many old things that are completely wrong. Just because something's old doesn't make it more right than something that's less old. Yeah? So the Vedas are eternal. But the general persons, they are impressed by the longevity of a tradition. You know? Because if a tradition does not have any value, then it will not last a long time. There are so many fads and fashions and ideas that came in and out of the popularity, you know. But if there's something that's very substantial, then it has the power to endure over long periods of history, we can say. Like Christianity. Is there still, after 2,000 years, still there are millions of Krishnas? Why? Because there's some substance here which is valuable. And so when we speak about religious scriptures, then we can also say, because the Vedas, not that they're 5,000 years old, but according to our traditional history, 5,000 years ago they were written down. Before that, Vedas are called Shruti. Shruti means that which you hear. So it wasn't written down, it was heard, it was passed down as an oral tradition. But when Kali Yuga came, because of the gradual degradation of human mental power, the memory was being reduced. So due to the curse of Gautam Rishi actually. So in Kali Yuga the memory is reduced, and so in order to preserve the Vedic knowledge, Vyasadeva divided Vedas into 4 and gave the 4 now sections to 4 disciples who would specialize in that part, and they had their disciples, and so various aspects of the Vedas were entrusted to different gotras, different traditions, the lineages, in order to preserve them, and they were written down. So different strategies were taken to preserve them in the form of writing and preserve them in the form of understanding that particular section. In other words, different aspects of the Brahmin community would be specialists in that aspect of the Vedas. So you have Dvivedi Brahmins, Trivedi Brahmins, and like our Shastradi, Chaturvedi. And so, in this sense, that this text has a long history, and therefore it must be substantial. We can we can infer that perhaps there's more likelihood to be something substantial here. But it's not a proof of its validity. The proof is Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman does not mean that Shabda is the Vedas, and so if something is written here, then I accept it to be true, because it's written here. That is the let us say, that is the weak interpretation of Shabda Praman. Understanding according to Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti. The strong interpretation of the word Shabda Praman, that is according to Vidvat Ruddhi Vritti, is when you hear the sound of the Vedas in Guru Parampara, you see God. because the sound itself is not different from the Supreme Lord. Vedaishta sarva anhaiva vedyo, Krishna said, by all the Vedas I am to be known. And so that's why the Vedas are called Sruti, because they are heard and the proof is in the hearing. So that is the Vidvat Vritti Vritti. But just because something is old does not make it more valid than something is more recent. For example, whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed, whatever Rupa Goswami has revealed, is superior to the Vedas. So what is apparently, that is also eternal. But when we speak about its appearance in this world, we say Rupa Goswami has written Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 500 years ago, like that. And this is he's actually superior even to the Vedas. The Vedas, what Rupa Goswami has revealed, the Vedas themselves are still searching for that. Vejur Makunda Padavim Sudivir Vridyam. Tadhyatya Padaraja. The Vedas are still searching for the foot dust of Sri Krishna. But common people are very impressed by this aura of the ancient authority. Because we also have the mental connection between age and wisdom. If a person is really old and wrinkled and has a long white beard, then they look wise, even if they're foolish. And Shukadev Goswami, he's only 16 and he's naked. He's not even shaving. So he's cannot to be experienced. So these are material assumptions. And in preaching, sometimes persons, they utilize the general assumptions of the public for their benefit. But it's not a philosophical conclusion. Another thing that can be said in regard to the age that the Vedas are old, is that they're not reactionary or sectarian. If you see that, let's say, Christianity we know it began 2,000 years ago. It was presented 2,000 years ago, and much of it is also reactionary to previous tradition. The New Testament there is a supersessionism. That means it invalidates the covenant of the Old Testament. It supersedes the covenant of the Old Testament. And it's not that everything is cancelled. The principles of the Old Testament are proven and expressed in the most elaborate form in the New Testament. But the Old Covenant is superseded by the New Covenant of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. So we can see here's a religion, but it has a reactionary element to previous tradition. And we can say Islam also is a reactionary to also developing on ideas of Christianity, and also reactionary to some of the ideas. Everything is not in agreement, in the sense that, let's say, Christ is accepted as a prophet, but he is not accepted as directly one of the tripartite aspects of God himself. And then you have Judaism, as it is today. Talmudic Judaism is perhaps only 900 years old, but it's very, very reactionary against Christianity and to a certain degree Islam and so on. Whereas the Vedas, they're not quarreling with a Christian or a Muslim or a Sikhism. Let's take Sikhism. Sikhism is a Hindu reaction to the the Muslim invasion of India. How did Sikhism come about? It was Hindus becoming more martial. It's like a martial branch of Hinduism, because at that time in history it was necessary to muster the martial spirit to counteract the invasion of Islamic persons. Like this. Buddhism, it was a rejection of the Vedas as well. So if you look at the various religions today, you see generally they're a reaction to something else. And they have some positive content, but they're also very much defined by their negation or enmity to another idea. But we can say, because the Vedas, no one can really trace out historically, though we may say it was written down, we say 5,000 years. Some scholars may say 3,000 years, or something like that. But whatever, but it's known that it was an oral tradition before that. So where it was written down, even the scholars admit this is not the origin of this religious conception. The religious conception far, far predates the written word. And therefore, it is not reactionary to any of the religious concepts that we see today. It was meant to be ideas for the whole of mankind. So in this way, one may deliberate on the value of its being old. But actually, the oldness is not really the antiquity does not support in a foolproof way, in a way which is incontrovertible, that this is true. It's true because it's old is a non sequitur. It doesn't naturally follow that something is old must be true. So this is not something that we put real emphasis upon. We put emphasis upon that Veda is Shruti. It is manifested. And this is why if you study the 11th and the 12th canto, there's a history of how the Vedas came to this world. And even though it's very old, because the history itself begins with the manifestation of the Vedas begins with the first person in the universe, Lord Brahma. But the oldness is not the foundation of the truth of the Vedas, but rather the foundation of the truth is that the Supreme Lord placed the syllable Om in the heart of Brahma. And then Brahma went into meditation. And when his senses were completely, pratyahara was done, his senses were fully withdrawn from the external, the contact, then he heard the sound. And it said actually that it's the Paramatma who is hearing the sound. And then when a person's senses become detached from the external world, the Paramatma allows the jiva to hear that same sound. Om. And when the Paramatma allows the jiva who has controlled his senses to hear that sound, it manifests first as Brahman, and then Paramatma, and then Bhagavan. And the sound differentiates into the various varieties of sound, a, I, I, u. The Varnakram with long and short syllables and everything, and then manifests as, and the Vedas, the Vedic mantras come from, 4 Vedas come from the 4 mouths of Lord Brahma, and this is how the Vedas manifest in this world. So the Vedas are the sound form of God Himself. They are Shabda Brahma. Brahma, the Supreme Truth in the form of sound. So this is our conception of the authority of the Vedas is based on this. Shabda Brahma Para Brahma Mamobhai Shashvati Tanu. Supreme Lord said, I have 2 bodies. My form is Para Brahma and my form is Shabda Brahma. These are my 2 forms. In Srimad Bhagavatam they said. So you could understand in this way. Gaura Premanande Hari Bol.